Alrighty, dudes, we are back again with another Moonkin Monthly. This time it will be for May, and there is not really too much to talk about on Live Realms as it currently stands. We have the Corruption Vendor come out. I already made a video on what corruption you want. Basically, it's like severe and expedient. I think that there were some new sims, like one strike through is going to be better, but one strike through will be good once you do obtain a large amount of severe. Beyond that, Gushing Wound is going to be okay in some situations. Infinite Stars is good for IS fights. Twilight Dev is okay in some dungeons, depending. But that's about that for Live Realm. I guess something else that's in the news that I want to discuss is the fact that I've been playing Hunter more and more lately. So basically, it comes as a surprise to nobody that Moonkin on Live is not great in its current state of the game, fortunately. So I felt like after that bursting volcanic push week, I felt really bad about how Moonkin felt to play. So I elected to reroll Hunter for the remainder of the expansion. Basically, nothing's really going to change. For the most part, with this YouTube channel, I'm going to continue to make Moonkin Alpha videos or things that have a very large impact on the state of the game. For Balanced Druid for the live, and then the only thing that's really going to change is I'm going to be streaming on my Hunter a lot, but I've been doing keys on that. I want to give massive shout out to all the support that I've had on my YouTube page, or not on my YouTube page, but on my my Twitch stream, just allowing me to continue on playing Hunter and keep streaming to about unchanged viewership. So I'm super happy that you guys have been okay with all of that, and I really do appreciate it. Sucks that I'm re-rolling. Like, I'm going to be changing back to Moonkin whenever Shadowlands comes out, so that's not going to change. The only thing that's is what we have on my stream. All right, so I guess let's give a second to shout out the patrons. But I guess today we are also going to talk about the good and the bad with Moonkin and Shadowlands as per the alpha, and then basically my wish list and how I feel about it. So we're going to talk about all those things. So big shout out to Alpines, Arui, Nevernude, Gesu, Krona, Lashy, Lunor, Mariami, Mordia, Mr. Sliggy, Nate Shift, Pixel, Simonia, Sero, Simonson, Sauerkraut, Tiggs, and Alvija. And also big shout out to Nexi as well. So big ups to all of those guys. I really do appreciate it. So let's start out with Torghast. So Torghast was released on the Shadowlands Alpha maybe a month ago at this point, about like right after the last Moonkin Monthly was recorded. And okay, so initially I thought that it was going to be pretty hard to play balance in Torghast, similar to how it is in Horrific Visions currently, because of like the lack of self-sustain and just like other problems that balance may encounter inside of Horrific Visions. But it was surprisingly pretty easy to do. You just have to end up playing it very similar to how you end up playing it on other classes, where you're taking it slow, methodical, and then you're CCing very early levels. And then once you start getting going, it's not that bad. There's a bunch of interesting traits. I think probably the most fun and cool one definitely has to be the one where every 20th tick of Moonfire, you drop a full moon on players. That one honestly feels super funny. Like, and you get Astral Power for the full moon as well. It's kind of cool. You eventually just build up to be able to blast the fattest Star Surges available to you. And yeah, that's just really cool, really fun to play. I think Torghast's balance will not be that good or bad compared to all the other classes. I feel it's going to be a lot of the same. There's also this very interesting root build where you're able to keep targets permanently rooted, so you're able to attack them from afar. Good for melee mobs, especially. Not so much for casters, but really good for melee mobs. All right, but yeah, those are my general just thoughts on Torghast. I question Torghast's viability the longer that the patch goes, because I think it's almost impossible for it to not feel stale just the longer the patch ends up playing out, just due to just the infinite nature of the system. I think it's the same with Horrific Visions. Horrific Visions, whenever they were first released, were dope. Very fun to play. Very rewarding. But then just the longer the patch goes, they're less and less fun, less and less rewarding, and it just kind of grows on you, gets a little bit more stale. So I think that's where Torghast probably will end up landing. Unfortunately, I guess that's TBD. It's to be seen, right? On how that ends up landing. So maybe if they are able to revamp it season to season, because right now they have like a bunch of different maps, but even the maps don't feel like you're playing like a fundamentally different thing. It feels like the exact same regardless of which map or which level or which dungeon you get. It really just feels the exact same. So, but something that is interesting is that they can use Torghast as like more of like a sandbox testing grounds for a lot of other unique things, like say like legendaries or whatever, that they are able to implement as a Torghast power first and foremost, and then convert them over to a legendary. That would be cool. Yeah, I think those are my general thoughts on Torghast. I don't think Moonkin is like neither good nor bad. They're not the best class, they're not the worst. It won't be like too daunting to play balance inside of Torghast. All right, so let's talk about the good and the bad of balance through it on Shadowlands Alpha. So first and foremost, the good. We're going to talk about the good first, just to start this on a strong note. Uncapped AoE. So in an expansion where it looks like there's going to be a lot of classes and a lot of melee classes that are going to have some form of capped AoE at 5 targets, balance's availability of uncapped AoE via Starfall and via like our dots is going to be far more lucrative for the over 5 target pulls. So say you want to end up merging packs to like a 8 to 10 target pull, like you see a lot of times in dungeons like Freehold currently. There's some in like Underrot, dungeons like that, where you're able to, like Junkyard even too, like the first pull Junkyard, like these 8 to 10 target pulls, Sarids and Ataldazar, you're going to be like way better off. So that's actually going to be pretty good for balance going into Shadowlands, I feel like. The removal of Star Surge steroids will probably make Star Surge feel worse by comparison, but there is no way it feels worse than the current Star Surge on 7 targets method. So yeah, I do think Star Surge was going to feel a little bit worse. Next expansion, it's going to be pretty binary, I think, just because like you're not getting empowerments for it, and it's only used to extend Eclipse, but you're able to Star Surge 3 times in a row. I don't know. I actually do like the ability to be able to Star Surge 3 times in a row, because they're reducing the cost of Star Surge to 30, but they're keeping your max astral power they're able to gain at 100. That'll be dope. So deterministic rotations. So this is something that people care a lot about, not me. I prefer a little bit of RNG in my rotation, but we're going to talk about that in a second too. There's very little RNG to balance this kit now due to the removal of Azerite and Essences. So if you strip down a Moonkin right now too, the only RNG in our kit is actually Eclipse, which is empowering our abilities or empowering our spells, empowering our builders. That doesn't feel like RNG anyways to me. You don't really have any good reward from that, but there are a lot of people who like a deterministic rotation. Legion Moonkin was 100% deterministic, and I think that there are cases in which classes can have a 100% deterministic rotation and still be solid, but the class's rotation has to be tuned very solidly to be able to make and take advantage of that. I also enjoy the ability to be able to Star Search on my own time and not have to worry about empowerments. Yeah, and like I was talking about, triple Star Searching over and over again seems like that's going to be pretty good. So think about fights where, like, so Covenant, or not Covenant, Varamathras from Legion, from Antorus. Triple Star Searching on that was good. What about bosses that are empowered, like have increased damage taken phases? Triple Star, like build up a triple Star Surge, and you just like you pop your cooldowns, you just blast that straight into the boss. You're vibing out. That's really good. I do suspect that there will be some RNG in the kit from like legendaries and conduits and soulbinds, but it is definitely one of the most consistent DPS classes in the game currently, with its very deterministic rotation. It's not going to change pull to pull, and basically the game is going to revolve around your Eclipse cycling and your timings in which you jump inside of whichever Eclipse. So that's going to make for something that's very consistent pull to pull. And somehow, and the weirdest case of all time, we have more utility. I suspect that this will help us a lot in Mythic Plus and in Raid, but mostly towards Mythic Plus, because Raid is generally just damage focused. Alright, so Typhoon is now baseline. Stampeding, Roar, and Cyclone are also baseline. And the ability to talent powerful abilities such as Ursul's Vortex, via Resto Affinity, Mass Entangle, Heart of the Wild, and Mighty Bash. Like, so basically you're able to talent into Ursul's Vortex or Incapacitating Roar from your affinity, bro. I don't think you're going to want main. Then you can talent Mass Entanglement, Heart of the Wild for extra healing, and Mighty Bash if you need a single target stun. That's a lot more utility and a lot more impactfulness via the utility. In addition to that, you still have stuff like single roots. You still have stuff like treants. You still have Innervate. Like if you're a high mountain, you still have Bull Rush. Like, dude, you're actually just getting like 2 classes worth of utility suite in one like character. Because Moonkin still also has Solar Beam too. Like, sure, the 1 minute cooldown on Solar Beam is pretty lackluster. I would actually like to see it. You remember the Legion weapon trait where you get 15 seconds reduced if you actually lock out something or kick something directly? I would like to see that come back, but it's hard. I don't know. I think that would be pretty good too, but there's a lot of impactful utility that will come into Mythic Plus. Dude, Typhoon plus Ursul's Vortex combo is nasty. Cyclone for bolstering weeks, also going to be disgusting. Or Cyclone for any on-death effects. If you're able to just like delay one mob dying that's getting really low, and you're going to be set. Like, that's really nice. All right. So with all those good things, I think the class looks pretty enjoyable to me. I really have not had any problems playing it. The Eclipse rotation is... So I've had people complain about the Eclipse rotation, but I generally don't mind. So, okay, let's talk about the bad. The deterministic rotation becomes stale. With there being little to no RNG in your kit, you don't really have to think about what you're pressing. You could technically write like what is a cast sequence script or cast sequence macro to be able to fully route your rotation for you. I think there is a world where there can be little to no RNG in your kit, but the base kit has to be very dialed in to where you're still making conscious decisions of your kit. I think right now, a good example of this is like playing around Arcanic Pulsar and playing around Streaking. I don't think that I want that to... I don't personally want that to continue. I know some people do. I don't really want the hit combo, but like I think that that's like a movement in the right direction where you proc your Arcanic and then you cast alternating spells during your Celestial alignment, and that requires you to just really understand what you're doing and how you're playing correctly. That doesn't even have to be like RNG. That's just like more involvement in your kit. But where balance currently sits, I feel like there's a little bit less involvement in like the rotation, and you're really just kind of letting it happen as you go. I worry that this is going to get stale fairly quickly. And in addition to that, Star Stars feels very one-dimensional and only used to extend Eclipse. Cycling Eclipses can start to feel pretty old fairly quickly. And I think that's where probably it comes down to... I think that's probably where it comes down to the biggest problem, is that cycling Eclipses starts to feel pretty old. Because they don't really do much. And we're going to talk about that whenever I get to my wish list of things that I would like to see change. Yeah, that's how I feel about the deterministic rotation. I got the good and the bad on that. Slow AoE. So this may come as no surprise. We still have fucking slow. But somehow it got like a little bit slower. With there being now a real choice between Stellar Drift and Twin Moons, there's an ever-increasing likelihood that you end up having to single Moonfire every mob in a trash pack. I don't know if you guys have seen, but the Night Fate Covenant ability is like a channel, and you don't get... it's not like class specific or like spec specific. Unfortunately, you get like rips and thrashes and shit like that, and you still have to be in melee to be able to get benefit out of all those, and it will Moonfire a couple targets and rejuve a couple targets. It's actually just the lamest version of Night Fate that could have possibly been invented. Realistically, I think it should be like... I don't even think it should be spec specific. I think it should be like form specific. So say you're using the Night Fate Covenant ability, and you press the channel. You're in Moonkin form. You're going to apply Moonfire to all the targets, and once all of those targets are Moonfire, then you start spamming Wrath on them. That would be dope. That would be like the fucking coolest shit ever. Or if you're... Say you're a Moonkin, and you go into Cat form, and then you channel your Night Fate Covenant, and you apply Rip and Shred to all the targets. Or you're in Bear form, and you play fucking Thrash, and you spam Iron Fur. Even if you're not talented in that. Or you're in Human form, and you cast the Resto abilities. I think the ability to be able to have that is going to be dope, and that would be really cool for a lot of specs, not even just balance. That would be cool for all of the specs. So, with that being the case, I think that the ever increasing likelihood of you having a single target Moonfire every mob in a trash pack starts to get higher, with the condition that you may end up playing Stellar Drift. Something that is really random is that you can also only have one Starfall out at a time, meaning that you're going to have to continue to Star Surge on AoE. This is actually a major red flag for me. I actually think this is fucking terrible. Having Star Surged on AoE for a whole expansion, I'm actually super mad about it, and it actually tilts me to no end. It really, really makes me mad. I am just... I cannot explain how weary I am of pressing Star Surge whenever I have 5 targets out. And the fact that you can only have 1 Starfall at a time is very bad. So make Starfall hasted, or make you the opportunity to drop multiple Starfalls at once. That's like... to me, that's one of my top priorities. Like, that needs to change. Alright. Take a breath. Also, bad. Little to no burst damage with the class doing very consistent damage. The lack of real burst options is not overly appealing. Sure, you can pool Star Surges and then triple Star Surge for some single target burst damage. There's very little burst AoE. And then the comparisons that I want to make is there's something super satisfying about Demon Hunter using Fell Barrage or Warrior using Blade Storm. Damn, dude, Fury of Elune is a bad fucking button, though. Like, I feel like they need to make Fury of Elune feel how Blade Storm or Fell Barrage feels. And maybe that's making it become a channel. Like, I don't think the 40 Astral Power... I think the 40 Astral Power is also kind of a miss in some fronts. I think making it a channel and then making it do just a fucking ton of damage is the way that you make Fury of Elune better. They kind of nerfed Fury of Elune coming into the expansion as well. So they nerfed Fury of Elune. They gave it the Shadowlands target cap, where now it instead of doing full damage to all targets, damage is reduced on secondary targets. So they gave it the Shadowlands special, but even still, I feel like it should be way better on AoE. But that's a conversation for a different day, I guess. Alrighty. That's really the bad. I think overall I'm excited. I really am excited for Moonkin. I've seen some people not be so thrilled on it, but I think they're not thrilled on it because they don't love how the Eclipse system feels to play. Balance fucking sucks at leveling, dude. Like, I think that once you start getting into this higher level content, like this, even like this mid-range content, and you start doing like, once Mythic Plus comes out on the alpha, or you start raid testing bosses, I think Moonkin's gonna feel way better. We're also missing legendaries and soulbinds and stuff like that. I think that they're setting it up to be very similar to Legion Moonkin, in regards to the fact that they are probably going to prop it up with like really sick legendaries, really sick soulbinds, stuff like that. Right now, the Covenants I'm not super high on, but I think you're going to end up picking the suites of abilities, and I hope that that's going to be cool. If not, if not, then I don't really want... I don't know what I'm going to do. TBD on that, I guess. Alright, so let's talk about Wishlist. Things I would like to see. So, as for the variance in rotation, something we talked about today, deterministic rotation, bring back Honest Intuition as a Soulbinder Legendary. That would be ideal for me. It was by far one of the most engaging legendaries that Legion had to offer. It would create for super interesting variability in the balanced rotation. I would love Honest Intuition, and I know a lot of people that find that shit the best legendary. I thought that legendary was dope. And honestly, I don't mind playing Stellar Drift on single target either, especially if I'm able to get movement, like while casting Starfall. Like, I think that is super cool, and you get to play around it. Alright, Wishlist. Something about Starfall is what I titled this. Starfall not being able to stack feels really awkward on AoEs. You're forced to Star Surge again on multi-targets. So either allow multiple Starfalls to be active, or give Moonkin back Hasted Starfall. I think both are an appropriate option. I think that Hasted Starfall has big downsides of, like, then Haste is the only stat that you ever want for AoE, and Haste is probably the only stat that you're ever going to stack. So I think that there is major problems with making Hasted Starfall and bringing it back. But I think that an okay alternative is allowing multiple Starfalls to be active. I think that is probably a pretty good alternative. Alright, the next thing on my wish list. Something more exciting whenever you hit Eclipse. So, whenever you enter Eclipse right now, it kind of feels like it just happens. Like, you get a moon over your head, or you get a sun over your head, and it just happens. Ooh. And it just feels like a maintenance buff. And it feels very much in the Battle for Azeroth line of, you only cast empowered spells. Something epic should happen whenever you... Like, a good example that I think Mike Preach told me is that, imagine if you had a full moon go off whenever you entered Lunar Eclipse. That would feel epic. Like, straight up, that would actually feel epic. And you need something equally as epic whenever you enter Solar Eclipse. And I think those two things, like, if you had something that was just dope that happened once you entered Eclipse, it would feel far more impactful to be just like slamming into the Eclipse. Like full moon during lunar eclipse, or like a starfall going off during lunar eclipse, I think are the two best examples I could even come up with. Those would be fun. I think that those would be fun. Or like, so yeah, or like lunar eclipse, every target that you're in combat with gets moonfired. Something just like ridiculous. I think that would be very fun to play. And that's why that's on my wish list as well. And then the last thing on my wish list is the tier 100 row to feel more impactful. We're maintaining the row of Shooting Stars, New Moon, and Fury of Elune. 2 out of the 3 of which are getting nerfs. It feels like a total joke. Like that for a top end row, dude, that row is god awful. Shooting Stars was requested to be baseline coming into Battle for Azeroth and have diminishing returns on additional targets in order to be able to balance it. It was given diminishing returns, but was it made baseline? God no. And now we just have this really poor talent row that I feel like they really don't know what to do with. The Fury of Elune, aka Ranged Bladestorm, honestly could be easily fixed if it just does way more damage on AoE and feels like a sick button to press. It feels like you're just like ascending whenever you press it. You're like, oh my god, it's Bladestorm, it's Fel Barrage, I have Fel Barrage up, pull big, or like whatever, right? That I feel like that button's easy to fix. New Moon, dude, it got neutered whenever it came into Battle for Azeroth. It now like takes forever for the moons to recharge. I have not seen it. Like, dude, nobody's played it. The whole road just feels horrible. That needs major fixing. That's my wish list. That's the good and the bad for Shadowlands Moonkin right now. Talked about Torghast a little bit too. I would like to hear you guys' thoughts and opinions on the whole entire thing. I really am excited for it. I think Moonkin is getting way better in Mythic Plus. I suspect Moonkin's going to be better in Raid. Actually, no. I suspect Moonkin's going to be about the same in Raid. I do suspect that Moonkin will probably be better in Mythic Plus just because of the utility suite that's being added to the class. And I doubt their ability to be able to fuck up and make Starfall just the worst ability imaginable again. But I guess it could happen. But I do think that Moonkin will probably be top tier DPS in Shadowlands for Mythic Plus. So I'm excited with that. There's still a lot to see on the Shadowlands Alpha, so definitely stay tuned for that. We still have like legendaries and soulbinds and maybe Covenant changes coming out. Maybe something else changes about Moonkin. In which case, make sure you guys stay tuned because we'll definitely be covering that. Again, like I said, swapping to Hunter, but everything is going to be largely unchanged. I'm still going to be writing the Wowhead Guide. Still going to be doing Moonkin Monthly. Still going to be making Moonkin content on my YouTube videos. Only real thing that's changing is I'm playing Hunter on stream. Really do appreciate the support again. And let me know down in the comment section how you guys feel about Shadowlands Moonkin, because I've been trying to get like a lot of feedback on it since I was like one of the first people to get like alpha. I wrote a bunch of feedback on the Druid forums for Moonkin. If you guys have anything, like have any thoughts or opinions, I would definitely be interested in reading a lot about them because I fucking love Moonkin. I really care about it, care about the community, care about all you guys, and I love you all. And I'll see you guys for the next Moonkin Monthly. Have a nice rest of your day. Bye, guys.